today, beauty is not an armor anymore. I would say that it's a way to express yourself. What is true for beauty, in fact, is true for many, many worlds, for fashion, but also for cars, but also for furniture. It's really like this augmented reality trend is something very big in many industries.
Hello, and welcome back to the Teens in AI podcast. My name is Claire, and I'm your co-host for today's episode, alongside Elena Sanel, CEO and co-founder of Teens in AI. Today we have the honor to interview Lubomira Rochet, Chief Digital Officer at L'Oreal, and talk about her life, how she ended up working in AI, and her visions for the future of beauty.
I was born in Bulgaria 43 years ago, oh my God. And I first moved to Morocco, so in North Africa. So I lived there, and then I moved back to France when I was 12 years old. When I was a kid, I was very lonely. I didn't have many friends. I was a dreamer. I even invented myself a language. I used to read many books. It was for me the greatest way to discover new worlds and alternative realities. At school it was not very easy. I used to be, again, didn't have many friends. People didn't really understand me. For many years, I was bullied. So it was not easy. Well, a long story short, it was not easy. But I was a very nerdy person. I was hardworking. I worked a lot. I wanted to be good. I wanted to make my mom proud. And when you're an immigrant in the country, you know that nobody's waiting for you. So you have to really prove your merits. And this is why I worked so hard. And at school, I loved literature. I loved history. I loved philosophy. And I didn't like maths. And I didn't like sports. And today, I ended up as an economist. And I'm training 4 times a week. So I guess, things can change.
That's incredible. So it really resonates with my childhood as well. I also really didn't like maths, also didn't like sports. And I was also one of those very introverted children who was found reading lots of books, and poetry was my world. So how did you end up in tech? When was your introduction to technology? Mine was when I was about 18. That was the first time I sat in front of a computer, one of those big, massive Russian things. When did you get introduced to tech, and how did it happen?
My stepfather used to love computer science. He was a math teacher, and he used to really love computers, and he was geeking around. And I remember one day, a big part of my childhood was about music. I went to a music school, and the morning I went to school, normal school, and all the afternoons I went the music school. And we had an exam to pass to go in the music school. And at the time, we were not very rich, and so we didn't have like a piano or things like that to repeat and rehearse, etc. So my stepfather, he did a program, and a computer program to help me rehearse my play and to help me train in the whole thing. So that's really my first encounter with technology, and it was really through my stepfather. And then the second big moment, I guess, was when I met one of my early boyfriends. I was like 20 something. And he was very much into technology. He was a hacker when he started, like very early. He was 13 or 14 when his career started. And so I met him, and I discovered through him, like, and all his friends and the network, like a whole new world. And I was preparing myself for becoming like a European civil servant. I wanted to work at the European Commission, and suddenly
Amazing.
I really ended up in this world with those gigs, starting companies, raising funds. It was 1999 to 2000. It was the big boom of the dot-com economy at the time. And it completely changed my life. We went together to the US because he had raised funds, and his company was developing in the US. And this is where I met amazing people such as Al Varian, who was my professor in economics, and who's now the chief economist at Google. And yeah, this is how my journey in tech started.
Now you truly count one of the experts in the field of AI and tech. But as we look at L'Oreal, which is a huge beauty company worldwide represented, How would you explain to a teenager the impact AI has on the industry?
So today I work at L'Oréal, and L'Oréal is the #1 beauty company in the world. And so we are manufacturing things like cosmetics or skincare or hair care or hair color. And I joined 7 years ago, but like even before me, our CEO, Jean-Paul Agon, he really declared the state of emergency on digital in 2010. And what he said is very simple, is that the way we develop our products, the way we enter in contact with our consumers, the way we sell our products, the way we create the experience around what a beauty product is going to be changed forever by technology. This was his conviction, and he was so right. So that was 2010, and my journey in L'Oréal started in 2014. When we started this big digital revolution, whereby we have digitalized all our relationship with our consumers. And one big epic moment of that was also the realization that a technology such as augmented reality we're going to change profoundly what the beauty experience is. I'm going to give you very simple examples. Today, when you're in front of a shop aisle with thousands and thousands of products, thousands and thousands of colors, you have no clue on what that particular lipstick color or eyeshadow will look on you. And so thanks to augmented reality, we can now have virtual try-ons, we can have diagnostics, we can have things like that that help our consumers through AI and through augmented reality to really choose the right product for them. And what is true for beauty, in fact, is true for many, many worlds, you know, for fashion, but also for cars, but also for furniture. It's really like this augmented reality trend is something very big in many industries. And I think thanks to those tools, we are also able to promote a much more diverse view, to integrate much more diverse point of views of beauty in terms of different styles and different looks. And today, beauty is not an armor anymore. I would say that it's a way to express yourself through a color, through your personal style. And this gives a much more fun and inspiring view of beauty, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially in the past, beauty had more of a conventional perspective where it was only meant for females. But nowadays, I believe that everyone who wants to express themselves in that way should have access to it. And that brings me kind of to my second point, which is mental health. Nowadays, through social media and influencers, we are constantly reminded of our physical appearances, finding the right beauty routine, and fitting into kind of a social norm, which is a huge impact on our mental health, especially for young people or generally people that want to kind of find themselves. How do you think we can use AI to maybe benefit these people?
I think that's a great question. That's a great question, and I think it's beyond beauty. I mean, it's really a questions around, you know, the social world and the social networks, and I think it's a big question. And I think it's a big question because I think we have to respect the willingness of everyone, and I think give options. I think my big thing is you have to give options. And I'm gonna give a very concrete example. If you take Asia, for example, you have many apps that are, you know, apps like Meitu or, you know, apps like that are really there for beautifying. Beautifying is interesting because it means that it's you, but with beautifying filters, for example, for your skin or for your eyes. It makes your eyes a little bit bigger, and lots of consumers, they love that. They love that, and it's a way for them to represent their own theater or the way they see themselves, and they are happy with it. You know, Snapchat has done lots of, you know, beauty filters also, and it's a very interesting perspective. But it's a perspective that can be, exactly as you say, something of a pressurizing thing, which is like, in order to be beautiful, you must look like that, with this perfect skin, the porcelain thing, etc., etc. This beautiful, and it's very prescriptive again, in terms of your facial features and what you have to look like to be beautiful. And so for us, we have acquired a company called Modiface, and I'm sure you've heard about Modiface, and maybe even met Param, I guess.
Yes.
So Modiface is so we acquired Modiface 3 years ago, and it's really our R&D, research and development center for everything that is augmented reality for our company and for beauty. And what is interesting is that at Modiface, we've always chosen to give a real view. So there's no beautifying, things. It's you with the capacity to try on shades that are very realistic, etc. But it's you. We are not transforming you. We are just. And this comes from a very philosophical, question. We could do beauty filters. I mean, we have all the technology to do thousands of beauty filters, but we really chose to not alter what is you, and to just give you the tools to try on things and to make your own decision, etc. So there are two competing views, in fact, in that. And I guess you have two types of consumers. Some consumers will love to play with the beautifying effects and the beauty filters and accept totally to be, in a way, into a very maybe prescriptive way of seeing beauty, and others who definitely don't want that and who are very happy with who they are and their own imperfections, and that they are very happy to show that on the social network. So you really have two currents, and I think it's important to respect both.
Now, for me, creating a personalized experience does also mean accessing and gathering huge amounts of data. Do you see this rather as a growth opportunity or also as a concern?
That's again a very, very good question, and a question we are thinking a lot and every day about it. And when more and more in business, you have to have an ethical canvas, an ethical North Star, and on questions that are so huge. I mean, so huge today. So it's a very interesting times, I would say. So on this, personalization is really a demand. It's an ask from our consumers. Today, I don't know if you know the numbers, but we are like bombarded by thousands of messages every day, thousands. Advertising, content that we are exposed to, algorithmically driven, etc., etc. So we are bombarded with messages, and the world of marketing is overabundant. I mean, the offering in the beauty world in terms of colors, of brands, of shades, of products, of ingredients is massive. And I remember one day I read a book. It was in 2000 something, 2003, 4, no, 5. Remember, it was an amazing book on choice that was called Less is More. I don't remember the name of the author, but it was all about the philosophical question behind choice. Mm-hmm. And it was very resonating with me. I'm going to give you a very personal anecdote here. When I left Bulgaria, so it was 1982. So it was communist regime. We had like one shop and the limited range of products, to be honest. And we had sometimes to wake up very early to find things, right? So and when I arrived in the West, and when we did this stop by Paris before going to Morocco, I remember going to a bakery, and I was like, no, but I can't even find the word, because I've never seen anything else than the shop with the one brand of yogurt. By the way, it was not branded, And suddenly in this bakery, I saw like hundreds of sorts of things. And then we went to a supermarket, and then my heart like stopped. Like I couldn't understand how people could process the number of brands and the choice, etc. So the reason why I'm saying that is, of course, because it was a personal anecdote, but because this is exactly what consumers face every day on beauty, like on everything else. And I think personalization is a very profound need that we have in this environment that is cluttered with choice and paralyzed sometimes by choice. And so we use data to be able to personalize everything we can. So it can be your landing page when you arrive at our website, because at the end of the day, if you've been experiencing an interest in lipstick for like the past week, why do we put you a content on hair color, right? We use data to personalize our advertising. We use data to personalize our CRM execution. We use data to personalize our skincare diagnostic, whereby you can, through your mobile phone, test yourself, assess yourself on 17 signs of aging or skin concerns. And then the machine gives you recommends you the right routine for what you have, which is a plus for the consumer. But of course, it implies that you gather a lot of data. But the reason why we are gathering data is not to do things with that data, because our business model is not to sell data. We've never sold data. So that's not at all the point. The point is really to be able to personalize and to make sure that we help our clients, customers navigating into this world of over-choice.
So how do you try to remain transparent to a consumer? For example, me as a customer, I would be maybe negligent to such a point of view and maybe ignorant and see, oh, these big, huge companies, I'm giving them my data and I don't know where it's going, right? So how do you try to remain transparent in this time where people really have a huge concern about how they use their data, and especially maybe like a negative perspective on algorithms?
So that's a very fair point, and I would say that first of all, we are all learning here. We are all learning here, and my conviction is that you have to put the value exchange front and center. People really want to understand and want to be presented with transparency. So transparency and consent. Basically, I would say those are the two key words. And this is why we believe that if we provide a value for our consumers, they would be willing, at least more willing, to share the data. So this is why we are investing so much. This is why we have been anticipating the end of the cookie, the cookies. So we are preparing ourselves for a cookieless world for 2 years, and this is why we have really made this shift from using cookies to retarget, etc., to really create value through services. And services can be many things. It can be virtual try-on, it can be diagnostic, it can be a help to find the right product, it can be a teleconsultation with someone, with a beauty expert. So we are really working on this ecosystem of services that we can provide to our consumers, so that they feel that we provide enough value for them to be willing and happy to share their data, to be recontacted, to start a conversation, etc. And of course, we are abiding by every possible rule in terms of consent, transparency on the websites, etc. But I think it's not enough. I think we need to find a way to make data part of the conversation, and not to hide it. To make data part of the conversation and to really explain to the consumers why this data exchange is helpful. Why it's helpful for them, because thanks to the data we have on them, we can provide better recommendations for them, but also helpful for us, because I'm going to give you an example. If we, as we know, since you guys are doing a hackathon on AI, the way to avoid bias is to have as rich database as possible, right? And today, the more, for example, the more pictures we have from a skin perspective, the more pictures we have, the more diverse, we can provide our algorithm to be. And so there's this whole work of education, that the fact that data can be seen as a problem, but data can also be seen as a solution in order to create more robust, more diverse, and bias-free algorithms. We can only do that by having a lot of data. And this is where there is this very subtle conversation, which is not an easy conversation to have with our consumers, and to maybe see our consumers as collaborators. But I think this whole relationship has to evolve. I don't have the answer today.
Where do you think AI will impact the beauty sector in, let's say, 5 years? How do you see it transform the beauty sector?
So I would say it's about efficiency on one side, it's about growth, it's about personalization, it's about anticipating new things, new trends, being able to better forecast. Today, look at COVID. COVID was a very interesting moment, of course, for us, when the hair salon closed.
Yeah.
So 7 million hair salons closed in the world, like simultaneously. So what happened was that if you had to color your hair, you didn't have the opportunity to go to the salon anymore. So we all went to the supermarkets. And for us at L'Oréal, it meant like peaks of 300, 400% growth on certain products. And in fact, what it says is that in these very unpredictable times where COVID can hit with category shifts, when I don't know what an influencer from Korea can talk about your products, and then suddenly you have queues in front of your store. So the capacity to predict the sales is totally hectic. And what we used to do before, which is look at the past, extrapolate the trend, and create the new budget and the new forecast, is not something that is working, because you have apex events that are coming and that are changing completely the thing. And this is where AI can be a great help for companies like us to forecast. So I would say grow, new products, new demographics. I would say personalization. I would say anticipation of new trends or forecasting, and of course, efficiency and automation.
If you wouldn't be working at L'Oreal in the field of AI tech, which area inspires you the most to maybe discover or work in?
Now or before, like when I was a kid?
Well, now, since you have so much understanding of it.
I think I would love to go into bioengineering. I think that's absolutely fascinating. Again, many ethical questions, but I think that that a lot of the issues we are facing as Earth and as humans can be solved with bioengineering. I would say, that the when I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer, but today I think this is what I would choose. And I think it covers so many fronts that we could debate for ages. My mom is a biologist, and so I've always been fascinated by the medical topic, and also by diagnostic, because I think that this is the hardest thing to do, and I think AI can be absolutely a major game changer there. Education, I think that I have kids. I have 3 kids, and looking at the way they learn today, I'm sure we could do so much better. Not criticizing, the school as they are today, but I think we could do much better.
Absolutely.
In the sense of having more personalized curricula, having the capacity to both deep dive into a stronghold of knowledge for the kids, but also open them to so many other things, to create like the T-shaped people with very deep expertise, but also with a very broad sense of what is happening around them. So yeah, I would quote these two, because these two are for me absolutely massive and fundamental.
How do we encourage more women into STEM? We have such a terrible numbers that we all are aware of. Less than 20% of women are in tech, and even less so in AI. What is L'Oréal doing already? What should we do more of to encourage more young women to really understand the opportunity with technology?
I think to frame the technology discussion and the AI and the math, because math is the same thing, discussion around problem solving and not pure technology is something that will appeal much more to women, and to young girls. I think having this very practical aspect of it, and this is why I love so much what you are doing, because it's in a way putting very complicated concepts like AI, which can be scary, or technology, it can be scary, to break that down into like questions. How can we solve this or that? That's number one. And number two is to create much more of a community and of a team thing. I think that sometimes, and I see that with my daughter, she's 11, and sometimes she feels like this scientific world in general, or the technology world, is a world where people are alone, and that it's a cold world of experts, most of them being like men, and whereas it's not the case at all. I mean, if you look at technology, it's a team thing. You have to have multiple, perspective, multidisciplinary approach, and I think that touching that from an early age, like you guys are doing, this multidisciplinary problem solving, community building thing is, I think, a way to combat some stereotypes and
Absolutely.
and give more, appetite and the trust in ourselves to be able to bring something to the table.
Well, thank you. And now my final question would be, if you could give anyone advice, for example, me or even your kids that are younger, what would it be?
That's a very vast question, and that's the question I'm asking myself as a mom, like every day,
But
But
if you could give everyone an advice, maybe if they want to enter the field of AI or beauty, what kind of maybe characteristics do you think should they have, or any sort of along those lines?
I think, thinking about it, I think that problem solving is really is really hugely important. Is really hugely important. And when I used to work in innovation before in Microsoft or elsewhere, I was very struck because you have really three types of innovators. You have the consultant type, the guy or the girl coming like with big charts and a quadrant saying like, this is the market, this is today's market, this is tomorrow's market, it's a 100 billion market, this is where we should go, right? That's a market view. Then you have the tech pitch, like, this technology is amazing, it's going to change everything, and I'm going to build a great technology or software around that, and I'm so excited by the technology, so this is really what I want to do. And then you have the third type of people coming with a problem to solve. And I'm not saying one is better than the others, but from my experience in L'Oréal, what I see is that there are so many problems to solve. Like, even if you take beauty, the fact that when you are in front of a shop aisle and you have no clue about what would be good on you or not, having this notion of being able to virtually try on is a hack. It's a problem that a consumer has and that you can solve. And so I would say that looking at the world with this view of problem solving is something that's gonna take you everywhere in all fields, in fact, and of course in AI, because I think it's one of the key. And this is why I'm so happy to be part of this beautiful project of Teens in AI on this particular hackathon, because I think the hackathon spirit is exactly this one. It's exactly to understand a value chain, or to understand a consumer decision journey, or to understand something where you have problems or where you have gaps, and to find a way to provide solutions through technology.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Teens in AI podcast and got the chance to dive into the world of beauty and AI. Thank you so much, Lubomira, for taking the time to speak with us. And of course, don't forget to share your thoughts and reflections across all social media platforms and tag us on Instagram and Twitter at Teens in AI Pod. Stay tuned for more brand new episode every Thursday, where we will be speaking to more leading figures in the field of AI.